I'm going to break the harsh reality to you. Working really hard for a week, working really hard for a month, working really hard for 6 months isn't going to change anything. When you work hard, you have to work hard for at least a year, or at least a year and a half, or at least 2 years before you see any results, most times. And this is why there's so few people who are super successful. There are people who are slightly successful. There are people who are not successful. Then there are people who are super successful. What is the difference? The people who are not successful, right? They didn't make the decision to actually start working. But there's a weird in between where a lot of people can work for a little bit. They can work for, a month. They can work for a couple months. They can work for maybe half a year, right? But they can't work past that. They end up giving up. And so it's only the people who keep working and keep that consistency of just working for hours and hours and hours for like 5 years straight who actually reach that upper echelon of super successful. I'm not telling you this to say that you have to become super successful. I'm just laying out the realities and the options. Understand that whatever your dream may be, there is a price tag associated with how much work you have to do and for how long. If you want to stay right where you are, the price tag is no work, right? Because you just do whatever you're doing right now. But if you want to move to, let's say, the highest level possible, your price tag is going to have a timeline on it. Let's say like 3 years, 5 years, 4 years, everything, right? And then it's going to also have the amount of work, which is like every day, 3 hours or 3 extra hours or 4 extra hours, right? And it's just like, it's crazy because it's such a hard thing because there will be so many times when you don't feel like it. Think about in 5 years of working. How many excuses can you come up with in just the 2 seconds that you're watching this video for why you shouldn't work? You could probably come up with a bunch, right? Oh, I feel tired today. Oh, I'll start tomorrow. All this stuff, right? There's probably like 1,000 excuses you can make in just the 2 seconds. So imagine for 5 years fighting all those excuses and still coming out and saying, no, I'm going to work, right? And I'm going to break it to you. The reality is those people who are that successful, they're not really fighting the excuses because eventually you just move past it. You just you get so used to just removing the excuses, ignoring them, that eventually they just don't affect you. They don't even pop in your mind anymore. And of course, that's a very late stage kind of situation. It's not something that's going on right now, but it's very true, and it's something that really separates those people. So being successful is not a binary thing. There are people who are sort of successful. There are people who are kind of successful. There are people who are really successful. And there are people who are not successful. And it's all about how much work you're willing to put in. And this is really why you need to get used to working for much, 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 much longer. You need to take your timeline for success and almost double it, to be honest. Because there's so many factors that are just so unknown that you need to respect that by just increasing your timeline of how long it's going to take. Because if you don't increase your timeline, then you're going to get extremely discouraged whenever there's a situation change or whatever else happens, right? So you need to just be expanding your timeline so you give yourself a little more grace and you just have a lower expectation of how fast it's going to take. It doesn't mean you work slower. It just means you realize that to do something like moving yourself from where your current position is to somewhere else, it requires a lot of work. It's definitely not easy at all because you are literally changing your reality. That's something you need to realize. You are physically changing your reality through work. And so you shouldn't expect that to be something that's easy.